Hello, garden. This is Jacob. You know, the plant. Welcome to my ranking of all 78 episodes of All Hail King Julian. Okay, yeah, I know it doesn't really make sense that I'm portraying my persona as just King Julian with a purple choker, but just go with it, okay? So first off, obvious spoilers warning. I watched this entire show 3 whole times in the past 3 months, so you can trust this as a reliable ranking, okay? This show works way better as a unit than individual episodes. It's like a roller coaster of quality, but at its best, this show is peak entertainment. Yeah, let's get into it. So these are D tiers. Number 78, it's the season 3 opener, Oh Captain My Captain, part 1. So obviously this is the worst episode of the season it's a part of, season 3. So you know Ice Age 4, like the one with the pirates? This episode is basically that, but like the pirate crew just sucks. Like none of them are memorable at all. This is when we first meet King Julian's parents, and while they later end up becoming a great aspect of the show in my opinion, however, when they're first introduced, they are not likable at all. The next episode in this 2-part special, Oh Captain My Captain Part 2, it still sucks, but at least more happens. This is a worst season 4 episode. Kodo Plain and Tall, more like Kodo Plain and Boring. I've seen other fans of the show give Kodo praise. To me, he's just lame. He's just a villain, like that is his personality. Close Encounters of the Mort Kind. The alien storyline is boring when it could have been cool. Coincidentally, at 74 we have the very next episode, The Butterfly War. Yes, King Julian's naive and selfish, but him intentionally starting a war is uncharacteristic. Bridge to the River Mort. This is the worst Exiled episode. So the thing about Exiled is it starts off pretty good and then it really dips in quality. But then the payoff, oh man, Exiled really does become fantastic at the end, but we'll get to that. The big thing that happens in this episode is Mort's play, which is, I don't know, it's okay. The slightly better Exiled episode is the next one, Raiders of the Lord Shark. Like, the shark and dolphin stuff is mildly interesting. That's something this show does a bit too much of, I notice, is like the dumb equals funny characters. We are now moving on to the C tiers. So the D tiers are just skips, to be honest. Like, the C tiers, these are like skip throughs, I would say. 71st place, that sinking feeling. This is Carl's worst episode. His subplot's just uninteresting. I love Carl. He is kind of hot. I mean, let's not lie, but like, he's a great character, but a lot of the episodes he's in, unfortunately, kind of fall flat. Speaking of the episode number matching the season number, at 70th, we got season 5, episode 5, Squad Goals. This is the worst season 5 episode. It's really not about social media like you would hope it is. As a villain, I just find Pam very uninteresting. At number 69, we have The Never-Ending Clover. This episode's really just the epitome of just could have been better. The really, really big lie. This is the worst season 1 episode. This one just the epitome of just not enough happens. This is the worst season 2 episode, Election. Yes, this episode is just about as plain as the episode title. There are better political episodes. Oh brother, where art thou? This gets the medal of the grossest episode. But I'm a sicko, okay? I'm into some gross stuff. And this is too much for me, okay? Like the first 2 minutes of this episode, it's pretty obvious to me DreamWorks is maybe into this stuff. This episode is still like cute and wholesome. There will be juice. This one's just kind of uneventful. Poncho really shines though. Fast food, Lemur Nation. This one's disappointing because it's barely even about fast food. It's really just about like a candy bar, Carl Mageddon. So this one's basically Willy Wonka, but worse. Now usually when this show parodies something, I think it does better than what it parodies, but this is not the case. They really butchered Carl's ending. Very anticlimactic. King Julian Superstar. This one's out of place because at the end of season 4 you have all these episodes that are like leading up to Exiled. This is just another kind of like slice of lifey one. So this one is fun. It's just kind of the same thing like the whole episode. Rob's rap really shines. That part's really cool. The King and Mrs. Mort. I mean, the only thing I really gotta say about this one, the ending's great. The rest of it's just okay. The Wrath of Mordecus Khan. This one gets the honor of You Lost Me. Another thing that a lot of episodes suffer from is they have a great, enticing concept, so they start off very interesting, but then they don't really do much more with it. This episode suffers that fate the worst. Monkey Planet. The whole like thing about like the monkey loving Russia so much is funny. But that's pretty much all I really got to say about this one. Just okay. Lord of the Fruit Flies. This episode is basically election, but better. More pretending to be Donald Trump. I don't see anyone ever talk about it. One More Cup, Part 2. Yeah, this one pales in comparison to the Part 1. Bruce is kind of meh. We are now in the B tiers. All episodes beyond this point are good, to some extent. I want to make a big point about, since I'm judging these episodes, I'm going to be bringing up like negatives in them. That's not me saying the episodes are bad, that's just me pointing out how they could have been better, pretty much. King Julie End. This is a season 2 finale. I don't have much to say about this one. It's just like an okay finale. Are you there, Frank? It's me, King Julian. This is like another kind of meh Carl episode. Carl's great. The episode itself is okay, just okay. This is another episode that I think does like a great job appealing to both Christians and atheists. Very impressive for any show in general. Julian 2.0, baby. So this one is very interesting. This one's unique because there is 1 minute in this episode or so, an absolute riot. And then the rest of the episode is just good. He blinded me with science. Yeah, I like Timo. He's a good character. He has an okay introduction here. This episode delivers a decent message about, like science and religion coexisting. Tears in the Drain. Now, this one's got some very cool ideas, but it's just too slow paced. My Fair Fusa. This is just kind of like decently fun. Takes too long to get started. The end is near. I do not support Clover X Sage. This is like the Sage X Clover episode. Clover and King Julian would have been such a better ship. However, the reason this one is as high as it is because military parodying going on, and that stuff's great. Pole Position. This one's just a classic, honestly. The King Who Would Be King. It's decent. This is Fred's introduction episode, and I love Fred. Great character. Eye of the Clover. So, this one's kind of uneventful. However, all of the stuff about Clover's backstory, with her grandma, is really bittersweet. Like, hit the feels a little bit. The Love Gauntlet. This episode's kind of meh, but it's got very good King Julian and like parent interaction. Really good Carl lore. Unking Me. Surprisingly uneventful. However, the moments that do hit, emotionally, they really do hit. Another episode where King Julian's leadership is threatened. The Good Book. This one has a great concept. The kingdom becoming British. It's really funny, but it does kind of dip in quality at some parts. Another episode, making fun of culture, we have Spin Cycle. I love how this one, makes fun of the news. I think that's awesome. The snake stuff is very good. Dance Dance Resolution. From the episode title alone, it sounds like it's going to be very fun. It's actually a very sad episode. King Julian's parents really don't love him that much, and he really wants them to. Whether you can empathize with that or not, you can really feel the emotions in this one, and I gotta say, it's great for that. Body double sounds so naughty. So yeah, this is a really interesting concept, which is done okay. Night Creatures. So this is basically like the Halloween episode. It really delivers those Halloween vibes that I love. But the episode itself is just okay. The very first episode, season 1, episode 1, King Me. Now, it's not the best opener. It's kind of like a basic episode, but I think it works more in its favor than against it. Run for the Border. This show is so open about its politics, and honestly, I really like it, and I come to find that in pretty much every political episode, I pretty much always agree. The writers just really are that based. However, this show's usually better when it's just being goofy. Speaking of political episodes, here's another one. Viva Mort. This one has the conspiracy group, which I love, Abner and Becca. The Panchurian Candidate. This one gets the honor of the darkest episode in the show. So yeah, this episode isn't necessarily fun, but it's very interesting. I've come to appreciate this show getting dark because I think that just really makes it a better, more respectable show. The Jungle Rooster. This provides some third wheel drama, which is really funny. They literally have a whole segment about mating, and it's pretty funny, but it's like, should this really be in a kid's show? Get off my lawn! So this is another pretty obvious political one. It has a really good message about guns. It doesn't hide it. It's very obvious what the Scorpions are meant to represent. This episode really shines because of the Fred and Clover stuff. Even more political commentary and satire. Gimme, gimme, gimme the game. This episode has a fantastic portrayal and like mockery of capitalism. The most excellent adventure. The Sage and Clover stuff is really funny. It's just how pointless everything they're doing is. The introduction to Exiled episode 1, the Strife Aquatic. All the submarine stuff with the main crew and like how it turns into like a horror movie at the end with King Julian losing it is great. Overall, it's a very solid start to Exiled. The Bad Year Blimp. This is the first one where Exiled really starts picking up and you start just feeling just how desperate the situation is. Blackboard Jungle. The best part of this episode is probably when a few star characters become teachers. I think that part is amazing. Delivers an amazing message about education, how wrong America treats it. Iron Ted Weekend. This episode shines so much because of the stuff with Ted. Cult fiction. Clover like finally wakes up to reality, and that's very satisfying to see. I love the Mombot. Fauxa? I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that. I know what they're going for. Anyway, Fauxa Unchained. Pretty much right on par in quality as the last one. However, the Mort X Han stuff is even funnier. So yeah, this one wins. Alright, next up we have another episode with the Fusa costume. Return of the Uncle King. Now, of course, I have a theory about his uncle. You can watch that. I think this episode gets the honor of best character development for Clover. And then in the meantime, like half the episode you got Maurice like pretty much sniffing Julian's butt, and like all of this costume silliness is just hilarious. Yet another fake Fusa one. Out of the Fusa pen and into the fire. Well, that's the longest episode title in the show. The main group shenanigans are kinda meh. What really shines in this episode is all the events that go on inside Mort's head. I mean, this stuff is just this is just pure cinema. Empty is the head. This one's basically like Viva Mort, but better. A lot of twos here. Number 22, season 2, episode 2. Diapers are the new black. I know this is a controversial one, but you know what? Cry about it. I think this episode is hilarious, okay? You know, DreamWorks, you can tell they're into some stuff. I would fit right in. The diaper stuff isn't even that cringe, to be honest. The episode is making fun of materialism, which DreamWorks is so good at. A much more serious episode. I, Maurice. This one, it just has some really fascinating, heart-touching backstory. Come on, let's be honest. They're a couple, okay? It's honestly just really sweet. You know how they realize how much they need each other in their lives? We are now in the A tiers. These episodes are just so good, okay? I'm gonna give this episode the honor of the gayest episode. You know, that's really saying a lot for this show. Enter the Fenaloka. Literally half the episode is just him in bed with King Julian. It's just so good. We have an even better Carl episode. One More Cup. The episode really feels caffeinated. Ironically, the reason this episode isn't any higher is because it does kind of slow down at the end. And then, oh boy, I don't even think I need to go into why Smart Mort is such a friggin' S tier character. True bromance. This one gets the honor of the best show in the song, other than the theme song. This song is so good that it actually won an award. This show is so unapologetically gay. Their petty drama between each other, really enjoyable to watch. The Day After Yesterday. King Julian maintaining his lovable character, even when he's facing death. Really love that. The ending of this episode, everything in Exiled leads up to this point. Freaking immaculate, okay? Now, you may be wondering, why is this one so low? Well, that's because it's too uneventful getting up to that point. The battling just really drags on. It really feels like, you know, a mid-2000s platformer that has, like, too much combat. Nonetheless, still a great episode. That's so Rob. So I gotta say, I love Rob. Very unique idea for a character. This episode has like a really good message about, you know, like leaving bad influences in the past. And it delivers some more like interesting backstory. So yeah, even more great character intros. Eat, Pray, Shove is the best episode of season 1. Sage's introduction episode, and he is just comedy gold. This is also Ted's introduction. I just love Ted, okay? Incredibly well written character. Phantom of Club Moist. Like the format of this episode, it really breeds a lot of creativity to have a lot of characters shine in like fun ways. The song, I Love Your Toes, my good friend, animationologist, pretty much the only other guy actively making videos about the show. He actually made an entire video dedicated to this masterpiece of a song. Go check that out. The Man in the Iron Booty. This one gets the honor of biggest improvement. A lot of episodes suffer from this effect where they really take a while to get started. Now this episode suffers that the worst, but once it gets there, it really gets there. King Julien melting down and just completely losing his character just because he can't twerk. I mean, come on, that's priceless. Clover and Crimson's sibling rivalry I find very interesting. And then this one has just like an epic battle at the end. Speaking of butt jokes as episode titles, Who Arted? There's a few fart jokes, but they're verbal, as in they're spoken through the mouth. And they're not bad, okay? This episode is very unique. Cinematically pleasing layout. This one really has life-changing message that, you know, you're not going to be good at everything you want to do. And King Julien has some lovely character development, learning that. Animationologist actually made an entire video why he loves this episode so much, so go ahead and check that out. Next we got an episode with even better character development. In fact, this one gets the honor for the best character development, For Whom the Bell Gods Toll. The Maurice and like Mordecai stuff is okay. What makes this episode so amazing is all the heaven stuff. King Julien literally dies because he's so depressed about losing Maurice. And honestly, it's just really touching. Like, just the finality of what's going on just really hits. He says that even that if he has to sacrifice himself for someone else, he'll do it. And to me, that is really the pinnacle of King Julien's character arc right there. Ladies and gentlemen, behold, the top 10. Number 10, I Am Farticus. There could not have been a more unfitting episode title. This is the most emotional episode in the entire show. I give this one the honor of the best single scene in the entire show. It's perhaps the saddest episode, and also a contender for the darkest. That one scene where Maurice dies, and I cried. I actually cried the first time I saw this. This scene is emotionally perfectly crafted. The expressions on their faces, and just seeing King Julien genuinely suicidal, so dark. I mean, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. The rest of the episode is also great too. Crimson and Clover. This episode has the best character introduction. Crimson is just a hilariously toxic character, more like of that sibling rivalry that I love. Just a really fun episode, start to end. We are now crossing the threshold of S tiers, by the way. This is peak entertainment, okay? These aren't just some of the best episodes of this show. These are some of the best episodes of any cartoon ever. Revenge of the Prom. This is the best backstory episode. Villain, basically, they introduce here. She's uninteresting and kind of an ugly character design, let's be honest. You know, she's good enough to serve the purpose. Spectacular character development for King Julien. It's just really sweet. This is where we learn about why Carl is so obsessive over Julien, and when he met Chauncey, which is just couple goals. Just a really heartfelt scene. The prom stuff that the episode promises is enjoyable too. Daddy Julien. Okay, I think the episode title is enough to tell you that this is going to be a weird one. King Julien really wishing he was a dad, and to be honest, it's adorable. Unfortunately, King Julien's married to a man. And just like the whole creepiness of this episode, like Mort pretending to be a son, just so good. Clover also shines in this one, you know, like her wanting to be a mom is really cute. This episode is just pure comedy. The very last episode of the show, the true ending, season 5 episode 13, appropriately titled, The End is Here. I don't ship Clover and Sage, I don't think it works. However, they're barely even together in the episode, and ironically, that's why this episode is able to be so good. The character who's about to get married, he gets buried. We get like some perfect endings for most characters. A marriage was genius. Perfect way to get all the characters back together, to have like a last moment. King Julian's speech is just mwah. They perfectly were able to have King Julian develop as a character while staying just as charismatic and entertaining. The All Hail King Julian show. This is the best season 4 episode. Gets the honor of the funniest episode in the show. Now I know that's kind of weird, right? We're only a 6th place. But yeah, this show isn't just good because of comedy. So many different characters shine at like their best. Once it turns into like a reality TV parody, oh my gosh. It's just a freaking riot. Such a good episode. The Exiled ending. The Day Before Tomorrow. This is the best Exiled episode. This one has a great message about diversity. They did a gorgeous job wrapping things up. Some of the best moments of the show are when King Julian feels bad about himself. Now, of course, I'm not necessarily saying I like seeing him sad, but for the sake of character development, these moments where King Julian is really like self-reflecting are just so good. Next, we have a much less serious episode, Pineapple of My Eye. This is the best season 2 episode. This has the honor of the craziest episode in the show, which is really saying something for this show. I mean, oh my gosh, where do I even start? Like, this episode is just freaking bonkers. When the pineapple grew a pair of lips, that is when I really was like, what am I even watching? Mort's obsession with King Julian is just at its peak in this episode. When you think this episode can't get any weirder, King Julian, he sacrifices himself for this freaking pineapple. And then guess what? It turns out the pineapple is essentially Jesus in the show, and he becomes a recurring character. Like, what other show is this freaking weird? It's just so good. This episode really is just like the pinnacle of random equals funny done right. I kept switching 1st and 2nd place, but I had to choose one. 2nd place, King Julian is watching you. This is the best season 5 episode. First off, it's a captivating concept right off the bat. King Julian's got like all these cameras, fun shenanigans there. The jail environment parodied in a way that's like lighthearted and really fun. And then this episode just has so many butt scenes with King Julian. And yes, I'm a gay guy. Of course I like this stuff, okay? This episode has peak Ted. Like, he's basically living out his theater kid dreams, and Ted is just so absolutely lovable in this episode. The Jailhouse Rock parody is just iconic. You have the whole Mort having absolutely no interest in his marriage with Zora. That's hilarious. And this has some of like my favorite moments of the uncle. He's a bit of a guilty crush for me, okay? This is just an amazing episode. I love it! Well, this is it. The best episode of All Hail King Julian is the entire show. We're all winners. Just kidding. At the end of the day, these episodes are really ranked by entertainment value. And I believe this to be the most entertaining episode start to end. Of course, obviously the best of season 3. And it is season 3, episode 6, Jungle Games. This show's zaniness is just on full display in this episode. You have an exciting concept. The sport events themselves are so goofy. You got Horse slowly breaking down as the episode goes on. King Julian and his uncle, and Crimson and Clover being petty to each other. They revive a dead man. Like, only the most creative writers can come up with such nonsense. It gets even weirder. This freaking zombie and Mort develop a freaking romance. Like, what even is this show? King Julian's gorgeous, super flamboyant, unrealistic performance at the end. I mean, like, the animators really go above and beyond. The lesson he gets out of all of everything. Oh, I can't lose. Even when I lose, I win. It's just classic King Julian. I mean, like, what other kid show just openly admits that their protagonist is, like, a bad person? This episode just really makes you realize what an absolute fever dream this whole show is. One of the best episodes of any cartoon in history. But wait, there's more. Well, just a little bit. First off, of my rankings for all the episodes, individually, episode by episode. Here are the seasons ranked. So what I did, I just averaged out my ranking for each episode within the season. The best season of this show is season 2. I stand by what I say. Season 2 of this show is perhaps the best season of any cartoon ever. This is an amazing show. Everyone should watch it immediately. Well, yeah, that was really fun. Thank you for watching. Expect a lot more All Hail King Julian stuff to come. Until next time, that's it. We out. Cake is what it's all about. No doubt. Delicious.
It's cake o'clock. Time to rock, rock a rock. Time to strap on down.